Hello everyone and welcome to another session of AP Human Geography with Mr. Elrod. Today we're going to continue on in our conversation on state shapes. I probably could have included this in our last video. In fact, this is going to be our only slide we look at, so it's not going to be very long. But it's something that is not really a part of the state shapes, but is more about the situation of states. And in fact, both of these elements you could look at as really kind of an extension of the state shapes. So anyway, today we're looking at what are called exclaves and enclaves. Now, it's important to understand the difference between the two and the way they're characterized, and one of the ways that you can do that is by looking at the prefix, or not, I guess not even really prefix, but the beginning of the word, the X in the enclave, as far as what the difference in the situation is. So the first one we'll look at is the enclave, and the enclave is a state or a part of a state that is separated from the state that it's a part of and surrounded completely by another state. So when we looked at the perforated state of South Africa, Lesotho would have been an enclave within South Africa. Now, you'll notice that obviously Lesotho is not a part of another state, but it is completely surrounded by a state, and there are several examples from around the world. In fact, there are some that are pretty complicated, especially if you look at the border between India and Pakistan. I have a pretty good review video linked up on my YouTube channel. You can check that out. It goes over several of those examples. Again, a lot of it's about the situation, thinking about the difficulty of the enclave. If you look at my picture here, my map, you see the country of Azerbaijan, and well, I guess it's technically be considered an exclave, but then an enclave that exists between Armenia and Iran is completely surrounded by other states. You think about the difficulty there of this piece of territory that exists away from the state in terms of separation, feeling that it's not necessarily connected. Of course, it's not connected, but feeling like it's somehow separate from the other state, which might create difficulty. The state keeping control of the exclave, which in this case is also an enclave. And when we look at enclaves, also many of them are going to be, or many of them can be potentially, they can be landlocked states. And so we talked a little bit about Lesotho and the difficulty that landlocked states would, some of the difficulty that they would encounter as a result of being a landlocked state and its inability to trade, and trade being controlled by the state that's surrounding it, and things along those lines. The other type of situation we have is what's called the exclave. And the exclave is a state that's part of a state that is separated from the main body of the state. So if you remember, we talked about fragmented states. Fragmented states are going to be full of exclaves, or they're going to have exclaves because they're separated from the main body. Again, this piece of territory is considered an exclave of Azerbaijan. Back when Germany was divided between East and West Germany, West Berlin would have been considered an exclave of West Germany. It would also be considered an enclave of East Germany, and so that kind of combines the two elements of exclave and enclave. Think about the United States. The United States is comprised of several exclaves, two of which would be considered Alaska and Hawaii. Obviously, two of our states, not part of the contiguous United States, but still part of the United States, and the exclave considered to be exclaves of the United States. So anyway, again, if you think about the beginnings of these words, exclave and enclave, maybe think about separation, enclave, think about being encircled, something along those lines. But anyway, again, not necessarily about the shape of the state, but more about the situation. So hope you found that to be helpful. Again, like the video, comments if you have any questions or concerns about the video, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Hope you are enjoying the course, and I hope to see you soon.